Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast is the Darkest Timeline. What can I tell you people? I am in a funk and it's coming through in the podcast. Part of me wants to apologise, but part of me wants to say, hey, it's what we're here for. We're here for the good and the bad. The funk means very little to talk about this week. Still managed to do a fair amount because there was plenty of entertainment stuff, just not a lot from the week. Just too funky, too chunky. We've got games aplenty, movies, and TV. Honestly, as far as the entertainment stuff's concerned, I got you covered. It's just the rest that was a troubling time. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around, people. If you can make it through this one and you think, I'll share it to somebody who doesn't want to feel good about themselves, then, share it around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello! You can procrastinate as much as you want, but ultimately it needs doing, so you have to click record and get on with it. I am 1 hour, almost to the minute, late today. Yes, I know there's no real fixed time other than the time that I set, because I am in charge. I am the boss. It comes with all the glory and none of the financial stability. So here we are. A week where, quite frankly, not a huge amount to talk about. I struggled to fill a list in this week. Not from certain perspectives. Certain perspectives, I have hit every marker this week. From other perspectives, I think a couple of times I've spoken recently about the old feeling funky, and I've joked about the feeling chunky. More recently, the chunky is making a comeback, for better or worse. I could spend a long time going into that, but honestly, it's not on my list because it's another thing I'm tired of talking about. So fuck it. We're going to talk about other stuff, and then we're going to talk about other things, and then we're going to go home. So what's missing from the week? I just can't be bothered. Can't be asked. I've got so little. I don't know what you would call it. Drive, and that's not correct. That's not it. Because, I'm out there doing it. I'm crushing it. I'm joking and I'm trying to mask stuff with jokes. Lols. What I mean is I'm just not, the best way to describe it is I'm just not feeling it right now. Like I get Sunday night dread hard because, for fuck's sake, I've got to go to work again Monday. I hate Monday mornings with a passion. For too many reasons. Not just, back to the grind. It's everything. Monday morning is the worst. And yeah, so many other things. I've got some stuff I'll go into. You might see a pattern, and that pattern is I just can't be fucking arsed. So anyway, parents' evening. It's that time of year again. Childers, parents' evening. That's what I wrote down. Let's talk. Let's talk things I actually wrote on my list. Beautiful, delicious Guinness. I had parents' evening for 2 of my 4 children. Parents' evening's weird. It's a weird thing. I never had to worry. And that's super... I want to say obnoxious, but I don't think that's the right word. Overconfident, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. I never had to worry. My eldest went to school, crushed it. I never had to worry. And we went through school all the way through. Primary school. And then there was a point where they were like, oh, by the way, this might be a problem. And it was like, okay, you're going to do something about it, right? Oh, yeah, sure. We'll leave it until it's too late. Cool. And a year went by and it was like, okay, so this might be a problem. It's like, so what are you doing about it then? Oh, we'll probably just leave it for another year. Cool. And then at the last possible moment, oh, by the way, this is not only could be a problem, it is a problem, and it's going to be a problem past this point. And I was like, so what are you doing about it? Oh, yeah, we're going to sort it out. So for all the time of me being like, oh, I don't have to worry. I didn't. But I didn't realise that the people who were supposed to be doing the job clearly weren't bothering. And it all came good in the end. Everything worked out fine. So now I don't take anything for granted. I went to see my middle daughter's teacher. First words: we're not here to talk about anything academic. And I wanted to say, so why the fuck are we here? Because honestly, if that's not why we're here, the fuck are we doing? Why am I sitting on this tiny chair talking to you about my child in a school if we're not here to talk about academic stuff? This was explained, however, still wasn't feeling it. Really was in that camp of, I don't know why the fuck I'm here right now. Not a great start. And then it starts, the flowing, the gushing, the everything's great, everything's wonderful, everything's brilliant, and then obviously as a teacher you got to throw out if there was one thing, yeah, go on. And I'm bracing myself, and then it turned out not to be too bad, and I was like, I'll pick that up with her when I get a chance. That's that. I'm feeling a touch deflated by this. Now, I will sort of caveat all of this by, I absolutely fucking hate going to my kids' school. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I would say it's a fairly hostile environment. It's just a particular way, and I hate going there. And I'm sure for everybody involved that brings great comfort. So there we go. So I'd already had the bullshit of having to deal with the going to the school. But I was in the pocket. I got through the doors. I managed to dodge a couple of bullets. However, it wasn't meant to be. I unfortunately had to deal with the horseshit situation that is. And had to put on a I don't know what you would call it, facade, brave face, whatever the fuck, I don't know, to go and find Leanne and the children, to go and see my youngest daughter's teacher. I'm going to tell you the truth here. I worry. I worry a lot. I really do. Some of my children, I worry about them in some ways, and some of my children, I worry about them in other ways. And rarely the two shall meet. I look at one child and I think, academically, I don't need to worry about you. There are so many other things I need to worry about, and they are so much worse. And then I look at another child and I think, academically, probably okay. I imagine you are going to run into some things that I think I will be able to sympathise with, because I think you are going to run into similar issues that I had, and that's just going to be unfortunate. When you get further down the ranks, you go, I don't know about you, because we've not really been tested. We've not really been put in a situation where it's like, can you do this? You've had the easy time of school. Now we're into like actual school. Can you do this? We don't know, but we're about to find out. And then I've got the little guy, and I'm like, what's he going to be like? Because, he seems fairly smart, but is that going to transpose to go into school and stuff? So we go in to see the youngest daughter's teacher. I'm braced. I'm clenched. I am as ready as I can be. And it's just absolutely glowing and it's absolutely gushing. So much so that I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It's good that she's able to do it and she's getting on, and, some numbers were thrown around, numbers higher than they're supposed to be at this point in time, and you're like, okay, I like it. I like that. Though it wasn't without issues. There are issues. There've always been issues since day one, week one. Those issues don't seem to have gone. Sometimes I think those issues are worse. Sometimes I think they're getting better. But got to take the rough with the smooth. And before long, they'll all be at it. They'll all be doing the schools. So, came away reasonably unscathed. Managed to leave unscathed. Didn't get into any blazing arguments in the middle of the corridor. So, that's got to go in the win column, surely. And you walk away from the situation and you're like, okay, so another one down, another one gone, another tick in a box. Well done, everybody involved. I take no responsibility whatsoever. I was having this conversation. I was talking to Leanne and I was saying about talking about my youngest daughter's reading, because it was one of the things that was flagged by school. Not in a bad way, the opposite. And I was like, it's weird, isn't it? Because she does so well with her reading. She's very well. She's a good reader. She needs little pieces of help here and there. But I take no no. Hell, the brain is not working this evening. Credit. I take no credit. At no point in time have I ever sat down with her and been like, A is for apple, B is for B, C is for cookie. That's all school. And her, she's obviously taken to it well. Very well in a lot of ways. There's a lot of the school books for her age are no good for her anymore. She reads proper books and things, so Like, the teacher's obviously very, like, it's great she's reading proper books, because the books we have here probably aren't good enough for her. But yeah, to take absolutely no credit for that ability, and you're like, that's kind of weird in a sense, because you're a bit like, well, you're doing it, but not thanks to me. So, I've got this really long-winded thing to talk about. The probably doesn't need to be long-winded, but it needs a lot of backstory. Downtime. I want to talk about downtime. I'm a big believer in downtime. I'm a big believer in, we do the things that we have to do that we don't want to do when we don't want to do them. So we should have our free time and downtime, whatever. And we, as people, humans, adults, parents, whatever, do not get enough. Unfortunately, we've constructed a life and a world which, it's very much that. I've just looked at a picture I've added to something, and that picture is awful. You know what? Sorry about this. I'm going to change that to that and just see. This is why you shouldn't leave things open, because they catch your eye. Do you know something? I didn't realise that picture is blurred top and bottom. How strange. Well, I've changed it now, so whatever. I'm just going to drop that there. And then you are going to do that, which I don't know why you do that. It's annoying. There you go, a little poke behind the curtains, poke behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it. Downtime is important, people, and it's more so important when you don't get it. You suddenly realise just how important these things are when it doesn't happen. So I'm going to tell you a little story. One day last week, I was very excited because I've been tracking the progress of a VR mod. Not something you would necessarily track the progress of. However, I bought a game a good while ago now, and I just could not do it. I couldn't play it. It was so insanely difficult. I was like, I don't get it. I don't know what we're achieving here. And after many attempts, I had to basically put it down and walk away. Huge part of me was like, that game begs for a VR version. And I imagine it'd be loads easier to play in VR. Time goes on. I hear that there is an unofficial VR mod for this game. And I toyed with the idea of adding it to the game. And never did. Because when I looked into it, it was really complicated. And I'm not good with click this, put this here, type this, change this, move that, increase this setting, change that setting. Now stand on your head, spin round 5 times, and it might work if you're lucky. That's not for me. And that's why I left it. A few months later, a year later or something, it's getting an official VR mod. Not official, but we'll get into that later. So I tracked the progress, and then just randomly I looked into it. It was like, it's getting released tomorrow. I was like, that's convenient timing. I spent 1 hour 40 minutes trying to get this game to work in VR. I'll go into the ins and outs. I've got some VR stuff to talk about, which I know is strange, possibly, whichever way you look at it, but there is some VR stuff to go into. 1 hour 40 minutes, and by the end of the 1 hour 40 minutes, I had achieved the grand total of absolutely fuck all. So I checked the time and it was like 1:15 to bedtime. And I was seething with anger. And I knew something was wrong at that point in time, because I was like, it's one of those things that it's a difficult reaction to a situation like that. And I knew there was more to it. So that was that. Typically, that night, we've been dealing with a little bit of sickness in the house, just up and down. There was like the night all the kids were throwing up. There was a lot of time off school and preschool and all that like that. And then I think there's kind of been a bit of a, like, you know, when like either you've been sick or like children have been sick, and they have that not quite recovering from it before the next set of germs turns up. So we've had a bit of that going on. Just a little bit of sort of unsettled. There was a situation where suddenly people aren't at preschool or school or whatever. So the night that I had all this trouble with the games situation, middle of the night, my son's up and he's not well, and I'm pretty sure he was in the bed at one point, and it was like 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning and 4:30 and 5 and all of this, all the way through to I think it will have been like a 6:30 in the morning start for me. And I'm like, well, that was the absolute worst night's sleep. Coupled with me not getting any downtime, coupled with the knowledge that I wasn't going to get any downtime that evening, coupled with just everything else that's going on. Oh boy, I was not in a great place. It was bad times. And I was like, you know, I think everybody's got something. Everybody has something for right or wrong. Some people like a drink. Some people like a smoke. Some people like a whatever. Some people like to go shopping. Some people like to go on holiday. Some people like, you know, everybody's got something. Some people like chess. Some people like reading. Some people like knitting. Some people like, you know, riding bikes 100 miles. Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. I imagine there is an element of, if you took all those things away for all those people and then studied it, what that would look like. Because I think there is an element that as people and humans and whatever, we're constantly getting fucked over by absolutely everything. And we have these tiny little pockets of, that's just for me, that's just that my thing or whatever. And then if you take that away, it's kind of a little bit like, what have you really got left? Like, I had all of these things, like all the things in my life that I've sort of removed, I've taken away. And I got down to like sugar in my coffee was the last thing I took away. And it was awful. I hated it. It's months ago now. I don't have sugar in coffee anymore. However, I do have sugary coffee, which, you know. But I don't have sugar in standard coffee. But I'll have a caramel latte if there's one on offer. But I said to the people that I was sort of talking to about at the time, I was like, this is like one of the last things that I've got left. And it's now being taken away. Admittedly, it's been taken away by me, but I never felt like it was like that. It's just, I don't know, I think it's just maybe just a tough time at the moment. I think, a lot of people I talk to, everybody seems to be feeling it at the moment. And I guess it's just maybe just winter. I keep saying to people, like, maybe it's just the weather. You get up in the dark, you go home in the dark, you go to bed in the dark, obviously, but maybe it's just that. Something that anyone who's listened for more than 5 minutes will notice. Last year, I had a thing about going to a gig and not going to a gig. I went to a gig and it was kind of a fairly awful experience getting there. I really didn't enjoy it. It was awful. And I went to the gig and the gig was fine. And then I had to get myself home, and it took me 45 minutes to get out of the city I was in, and I realised at that point that I was maybe done with that side of things. And then I think it was like a month later, I had another gig to go to in the same city, but in a different place. And when I looked at getting there, it was borderline impossible. There was a series of different ways I could have done it. All of them would have cost a fortune. And if it didn't cost a fortune, it was going to be insanely difficult. And I made an executive decision, even though I had the ticket that I'd bought and paid for and stuff, that I wasn't going to go. Huge part of me regretted the fact that I didn't go to see the band, but a almost equal size part of me was glad I didn't have to deal with it, because it had been so awful, the previous experience. Start of the year, a gig gets advertised. What I would sort of deem as like a super gig. Three of my sort of bands all doing the same gig. When I showed it to Leanne, I was like, oh, shall I buy a ticket for this now and then decide not to go? She was like, yeah, absolutely. Instead, what I did was I was like, right, I'm going to put a reminder on my phone. And as each week goes by, I'm going to make a decision. And I either diary the reminder on, or I don't know what the or was. So each week passes, it gets closer. Eventually, a few months go by, and it's some of the gigs start selling out. I'm like, I really should get a ticket for this thing. But the city I would have gone to in question was the same city as the previous. And again, I looked at some options, and again, expense was part of the issue. Difficulty was the other issue. As time went on, reached a point where I was like, I don't think I'm going to go. And that was really a really tough thing, because it felt largely like me putting that side of things to bed. However, I knew that wasn't the case, because I looked at other venues I could go to and other places. One of the ones that I was like, I would definitely go there. And then I remembered the last time I went to a gig there and went, oh no, that was fucking awful as well, wasn't it? Say it's a similar sort of time of year. I was like, oh, fuck's sake. There's one city that I absolutely will never go to for stuff like that, because fuck that place. If you know, you know. And it's slowly started whittling away. I basically reached a point where I was like, I think it's a no. And I think there's a part of me that's okay with that. because I didn't want the two other things. I didn't want the massive expense that went with a ticket that was probably reasonably priced. And I didn't want the massive amount of hassle. I didn't want to get there hating the experience before I'd even walked through the door. And I didn't want to leave hating the experience with the fact that I had to get myself home. Yes, there is an element that I would have gone on my own and blah, blah, blah. Next thing, advertisements going on. Oh, you know, we're here and it's this week and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, shit, I've proper missed the boat on this. And I was feeling bad, and I was feeling bad for myself, and bad about myself, and bad about my life in that moment, and just like, I wish things, you know, I wish this was there, I wish that was there, I wish, you know, that sort of stuff. I wish I had someone to go to a gig with. I wish it was easier to get to these places. I wish it wasn't such a fucking nightmare to drive. I wish it was cheaper to get the train. I wish. One of the three bands puts out an update. We're in the UK. Okay, it's a good start. Well, most of us are. What? Oh yeah, the lead singer's had a problem with his passport and wasn't able to get on the flight. So the lead singer isn't here. We're hoping to get that sorted in the next couple of days. But while that's getting sorted, this person from this other band is going to fill in for them. And I went, I haven't seen this band in a lot of years. I'm going to say 15 at a guess, at a starting guess. I was like, holy shit, if I'd have had a ticket for that fucking gig and the lead singer of that band wasn't there, I'd have been fucking livid. Then, another gig, another band on the bill goes, we've had some problems getting back into the country on the ferry from Ireland, and we're going to be late. Like I say, different gig, different place, not one I would have gone to, but one that would have maybe been an option. We are coming, you're just going to have to wait for us. By the sounds of it, it was late. And the more the stuff that sort of came along, I was like, this is the universe's way of telling me that it's okay that I didn't go, and that, you know, that kind of, maybe I'm too old for this. Maybe I'm too old for this shit. I don't think that's the case. I just think that there was a little silver lining aspect of, I didn't go and I was sad that I didn't go. But I think I was being sort of not let off as such, but like told like, it's okay. It's okay you didn't make it. Don't worry, it's okay. That there is the week. It like I say, struggled this week to put a list together. Outside of all the entertainment stuff I've got, which is plentiful. TV wise, Tokyo Ghoul season 2, episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the bag. I'm on with episode 7. I'll be catching up with that tomorrow. Probably get 7 and 8 done, I would have thought. Maybe be able to see about getting season 3. A little worried about going into season 3 because I'm pretty sure, like I've said before, I think I tried it and didn't get on with it. So we will see what that looks like. It's very good. I know I've said this all along. It's a great series. Having this aspect of the good guy becoming not the bad guy, but also the bad guy, is such an interesting take on this sort of genre. Very enjoyable, really good. Speaking of TV, we finished season 1, as you can now say, season 1, as it's been renewed for a second season of Alien Earth. A series that is absolutely the definition of a series that gets better as it goes. Really good towards the back end. The second half of the series was absolutely, from episode 5 onwards, it was bang on. I will say this, didn't stick the landing. Right at the very end of the last episode, they kind of, I feel like they swerved. I feel like somebody turned up and went, "Oh, before you finish, you're getting a second series." And they went, "Shit, quick, do this." I feel like that was maybe how it felt. Whether that was what happened or not, obviously, who knows. Very good. Fantastic series. What I will say is, if you have started it and not continued, or if you're thinking of starting it, stick with it. It is the definition of stick with it. So do stick with it. I do sort of wonder what a second series is gonna have or be about. But yeah, like I say, stick with that one. Because we were in the Aliens mood, we'd actually missed an Aliens film, so we watched Alien Romulus. I'd heard pretty good stuff. I heard a lot of people say that it was good. I feel that Alien movies are a bit of a tough one to do these days, but was prepared to give it a go. I'd heard good things. Largely not disappointed. What I will say is this: I'm glad they went back and touched up the I don't know what you call it, Ian Holmes, although I don't even think it's him, CG. I hear originally it was shockingly bad, whereas this time around it was just bad. It just did not look good. However, as an Alien film, it addressed some things that have never really come up. You know, the most face huggers I think anybody's ever had to deal with is 2. This was more like, what if you had 30 kind of situation. Took a couple of liberties with a couple of things. I suppose if you're like, well, it's canon if we say it is, then that's kind of that. And unfortunately, towards the back end, you start doing that. Well, Aliens film have a formula. So we best get to the bit where the alien's actually on the ship, and we best get to the bit where, you know, let's blow it out of an airlock, for example. Also, I feel that as a film, it kind of it decided to neglect the fact that people have seen Alien Resurrection. People have seen the end of Alien Resurrection. People didn't like it. Alien Romulus went, let's try that one again, shall we? To give them their dues, they did a better job. It was better. All round, like I say, it addressed a few interesting, I don't know what you'd call it, debates, I guess. Largely overall, you could probably give it a good 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 by the end kind of situation. It was good enough. I think largely it wasn't a bad film, which nowadays is an achievement, isn't it? Something I have not said for a little while, but unfortunately is going to be disappointing. What I'm going to say to you is, VR-wise, did I say what game I was trying to get to work? I was trying to get Ready or Not in VR to work. Spoilers, doesn't fucking work. No matter what the internet tells you, aggressively tells you, absolutely works, definitely works, you definitely work, it works. Yeah, it fucking doesn't. And I'm sure that's my machine, my setup, the way I'd done it, the way I installed it, the way I didn't sacrifice a leprechaun before I tried to play it, or any other reason why it might be that the game didn't work. The furthest I could get was head and hands moving in VR. No grip function. So couldn't grab any weapons and couldn't move. That was 1 hour 40 minutes of trying. The next day I put another hour into it, got head and hands, and it was just jumping all over the place, and I just couldn't get it to work. I've gone back, I've followed the instructions, I've done it a couple of different ways. It just doesn't work, and it's just too complicated to say, oh, well, I'll just do this, or oh, I'll just download the mod, or because it's not, I'll just. And I get it, I do, you're making something for a game that doesn't have it organically, and you're building it from the ground up, and blah, 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 blah. Largely, if it doesn't work, what's the point? The second day I was in VR, I was like, well, seeing as I'm here, Into the Radius 2 has had 2 updates since I last played it. So, let's give her a whirl, shall we? Tried to load it up. Remembered that obviously I had mods installed by the last point in time I played it. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take all the mods off, which I'm sure you can imagine, painful. Took the mods off, game loaded fine, went in and was like, what the flippity-doo-dah has gone on here? Any weapon I had previously has been removed, which was part of an update that said if you have these types of weapons, they'll be removed and you will have the money returned to you. Okay, not as much of a problem. I looked at my backpack and it was a fucking mess. And I looked at some of the new weapons they've put in. Some of them are really cool. But I don't know how to use some of the stuff does this attachment go on this gun? Who the fuck knows? Does this attachment go on this part of this gun? Who knows? There is nothing to tell you how it works. So you're like, can I do this? No. Okay, what about this? No. Guns and attachments and things that I'd previously unlocked were then also locked, and 1 to 2 levels higher than the level I was at. And I looked at it and went, this is far too much for me to go into right now. It will take me doing a complete rebuild of the backpack, the body armor, the helmet, and any weapon I can lay my hands on, because I don't really know what I can and can't have. And there was a point where I tried to put something in my backpack, and obviously because I've removed all the mods, one of them being one that allows me to carry more stuff, it was like, no, you can't carry that. And I just went, oh, fuck off, and turned it off. I'm in 2 minds at this point in time. One mind tells me to go in, build a backpack that will carry things, build some weapons that I know will, see me through part of the game and just crack on. Another part of me is saying, start from scratch, work your way up. This was what I was talking about earlier, though. There's a part of me these days that looks at that and goes, that's far too much effort to actually be bothered to do. And I just don't bother. It's hard to explain, but that's, kind of how it feels at the moment. Flat games. I've been playing a little bit of Spider-Man 2. But we're not going to talk about that. DC Universe. I believe I've basically maxed out a character, which is a weird feeling. Other than a few sort of things here and there, which I would want to do with my eldest when we play together, there's not a lot I can do with that character. So I'm like, right, here's what I'm going to do. What I'm instead going to do is I'm going to try and level up another character. Honestly, at this point in time, I have no idea how I've got a character to pretty much max level. It's so difficult to get characters up to level. Last night I played X amount of time last night, and I was like, so what we're saying here is all the time I've been playing, I have unlocked one piece of armor. Great. I went to do a 4-man raid and ended up in a team where fucking hell, one of the people left almost immediately. So there was just 3 of us, and we were getting absolutely boned. And then towards the back end, a 4th person joined, and they seemed to be quite good and kind of turned the tide. But up to that point, it had been absolutely painful. And at the end of it, it was like, here you go, here's, 8 things to buy armor with. Like, cool, I need 20. So there's been a lot of that. Final thing I want to talk about is the game that I love to hate. You know it as Chronos, A New Dawn, The New Dawn. Nobody really knows. I know it as... Oh, for fuck's sake, I need to play Chronos. I put a solid couple of hours in the other day. And I really, really, really thought I was getting somewhere. I've been using every trick that Sam has sort of told me. Oh, do this and do that, and save ammo by doing this, save ammo by doing that. Oh, you can do this and like really stock up, and you're going to need all that ammo. And I was doing it. I really was doing it. I was getting some upgrades, and I was getting a stockpile going. And then I did an area that had a boss on top of multiple enemies, which I managed to do, and literally walked out of that area into another area that had another boss, and that boss was the definition of bullet sponge. Walked out of that area with no ammo, no health, no resources, and went to another area where 4 enemies repeatedly humped the fucking shit out of me. This is hands down the best thing. They have no set pattern. I decided to lay some traps for these enemies. Kicked off the sort of instance of them attacking me, and they went different ways, avoided all my traps, and proceeded to kill the fuck out of me. I have tried it 10 different ways, and I've reached this point and I've just gone, do you know what? I might be done. As a game, it's a game that doesn't care about you or your feelings or your sanity, or it doesn't care about anything. It's not your friend. It's not there to help you. It is there to make you feel shit at all times. Yet, I've never played a game like it. I can't leave it alone. I leave it a few days, I go back to it, I play for like 2 hours because I can always manage to get past the bit. Shouldn't have said that, I'll now be stuck forever. And I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It is one of the most fascinating games I have ever played. And I hate it. And I love it. And I hate it. I had a conversation that featured like, oh, maybe you should start it again. Yeah, maybe I'll start it again. I'm really surprised you've got this far. Yeah, I'm really surprised I got this far as well. 2, I really think you should keep going because you nearly have finished it. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't know whether I can. I don't know if I can get past this bit. I'm stuck. Oh, have you tried this? Go back a save. Oh, piss off. So there's a lot of that. And honestly, I'm sitting here telling you going, oh, maybe I should go and try that whilst I'm waiting for this podcast to code. LOLs. Right, there we go. If I finish Chronos in the next week, I'll let you know. All I want is New Game Plus. That's all I want. I just want New Game Plus. I think it'll make it better. I think. Anyway, there we go. That is a shorter version of the podcast this week. Right. I'll catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think of that? Apologies if it wasn't quite as upbeat as usual. I feel I covered why in it. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, listening, being here. Do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. And do consider checking out the website, thecookiecast.com. There you'll find some social media links and an email button. And that way you can get in touch with us, even if it's just say, cheer up you miserable bastard. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then.
This is a Cookie Cast production.